Hey yo, what the heck is going on in the Pac-12?
Hey y'all, come look at this.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Slim Paco coming at y'all again with another video. How's everybody doing? Hope you're all well. I know it's been a little bit since I dropped one, but hey, we're back, you know what I mean? Y'all seen the stuff that's been going across the internet lately? If y'all are college fans like me, then you're well versed in the Power 5. You know, the ACC, Big 12, Big 10, SEC, and the Pac-12. But with the recent developments in the Pac-12, I'm not so sure there's going to be a Power 5 anymore. What happened? Let's discuss. In the past week or so, there have been all kinds of ridiculous changes throughout the lineup of teams, and the conference is in complete disarray. Some of these changes were expected. USC and UCLA first announced that they would head on out back in 2022, but most of them are surprising and kind of really don't make much sense. And for West Coast sports fans, this has got to be a freaking shock to the system. What does this mean for the future of West Coast college sports? Where does the Pac-12 go from here? And most importantly, what are the ramifications on the rest of the NCAA? First, a little history lesson.
The Pac-12 was founded as a Pacific Coast Conference in 1915 with 6 teams. At its height in 1959, the PCC had 9 teams, but a pay-to-play scandal forced the league to disband in June of that year. The league attempted to rebrand as a national league featuring teams from all over the country, including Army, Notre Dame, and Syracuse, but that idea was shut down by officials from the Pentagon themselves, probably due to their reluctance to include military institutes due to security issues. Instead, the PCC stuck with the West Coast schools and renamed themselves the Athletic Association of Western Universities. Their name only lasted for about 9 years before the name Pacific 8 was chosen in 1968. With the addition of Arizona and Arizona State 10 years later, Pac-8 became the Pac-10 and stayed that way until 2011, which is the longest solid state for a conference not called the Ivy League. But the Pac-12, as we know or knew it today, came into being in 2011 when Colorado and Utah joined the conference.
So now that we have some background, let's figure out how this league went from 12 teams to 4 teams basically overnight. As I mentioned earlier, USC and UCLA shocked the college sports world in 2022 when they announced that they would be leaving the Pac-12 for the Big 10 in 2024. Now, of course, geographically, this decision doesn't make any sense at all, but okay, the conference had been aware of this move for a while. Financially speaking, though, this really hurts the Pac-12 because USC and UCLA brought in $100 million in revenue from the conference last year just from college football. Now, it's hard to find data on USC's total revenue as a school from last year, but UCLA came in ranked 7th out of all the Pac-12 schools. It's a safe bet to assume that USC, due to its status and high endowment at $7.4 billion, raked in a pretty good deal of cash, definitely coming in top 3 in the conference. While the schools themselves are doing fine, reputation-wise, losing the 2 California-based schools is surely detrimental to the conference. I mean, think about it. UCLA and USC have this long-standing rivalry with each other in multiple sports like basketball, baseball, and football, and have both won multiple championships in those aforementioned athletics, among others.
They are the most iconic and well-recognizable schools in the conference, at least where the rest of the nation is concerned. To be honest, losing USC and UCLA, schools that have been part of the Pac-12 since its PCC days, is detrimental enough to the conference from appearance, financial, and an athletic standpoint. I don't want to be the Debbie Downer who says it, but this might not be the straw that breaks the camel's back. It might be the whole bale of hay.
But things can't really get worse, right? Right? Of course they can! This is the Pac-12 after all, a conference long regarded as the worst of the Power 5, though not due to their championship pedigree. However, let's take football as an example.
The Pac-12 is often ranked at the bottom when their programs are stacked against the rest of the Power 5, though not completely at the bottom. And thanks to recent performances from teams like the USC Trojans football in the early 2000s or the UCLA softball team in the 2010s, they've shown that the conference can still win national championships and capture the eye of the rest of the nation. Unfortunately, many of the other schools in the Pac don't seem to share that same sentiment. Over the last 2 weeks, 6 other schools have done the dash and hit the gas and dipped like a McDonald's ice cream cone out of the Pac-12. Colorado, most likely spearheaded by head football coach Deion Sanders, announced that they'll be leaving to rejoin the Big 12 in 2024. And they ain't going alone.
I'm leaving here with something.
They'll be joined by the University of Utah, Arizona State, and the University of Arizona. Oh yeah, and Cal and Stanford are trying to join the ACC.
Huh?
Which makes as much sense as a dog with a chocolate fetish.
4 teams are leaving the Pac-12 to join the Big 12, which is something I don't think has ever happened in the history of college athletics in a single offseason. I mean, how crazy is that? Think about it. That'd be like if the New York Yankees, Boston Red Sox, Minnesota Twins, and Chicago White Sox all just up and decide to leave the American League for the National League one day. It might not be that extreme, but I think that's a good example of like what's going on in the Pac-12. Bro, these schools are on devious timing. Like they've all been listening to Youngboy on some right foot creep when I walk with that heater. But those 4 are just the tip of the iceberg. The University of Oregon and the University of Washington also said bye Felicia to the Pacific Athletic Conference and peaced out to the Big Ten alongside USC and UCLA. So the Pac-12 has gone from a 12-team conference to a 4-team conference, basically in a blink of an eye. And the once lauded and well-respected division is now being made fun of endlessly by sports pundits and fans alike. As always though, the big question is why? Why are all of these teams leaving the Pac-12? Why are they running away from the conference like it's got a new strain of COVID? Well, the answer is a lot simpler than you might think. Cold, hard cash. At least, that's the most obvious answer. Pac-12 paid out $37 million to each school in 2022. In contrast, the Big Ten paid out $58 million and the Big 12 paid out $42 to $45 million to their charter programs. Even more ridiculous, the Pac-12 made more money in revenue than the Big 12, but still paid out less. From this info, it becomes fairly obvious from a faculty administrative standpoint why these 8 schools would want to change. And I can't even blame him for real, because you know your boy's about his paper too.
We've got to have money.
But what about from an athletic stance? Well, competitively speaking, these moves are centered around their college football programs, and Big 10 and Big 12 have been more successful in this aspect than the Pac-12 has been since the BCS era began in 2001. I feel like these schools would like their football programs to gain more national respect, and the best way to do that is to play in conferences that have tougher competition. For example, if you win the SEC, you're pretty much guaranteed a top 2 spot in the college football playoff rankings. That's not the same for any of the other Power 5 conferences, and especially not the Pac-12. Since the inception of the CFP, only 2 teams from the Pac-12 have made it to the postseason tournament, and none of those teams have won the championship. In addition, the last 6 Pac-12 champions have missed the college football playoff entirely. Compare that to the SEC, ACC, Big 12, and Big 10, where you can lose your conference championship and still make the CFP, or even lose multiple games and make it in. That's due to strength of schedule rankings or just overall acknowledgement of the team/conference success over the years. As I mentioned earlier, the Pac-12 is not known as a college football powerhouse by any means, and I think the school presidents and athletic directors would like to improve this outlook. What about in other sports? College basketball is the second most profitable amateur athletic event sponsored by the NCAA, and the Pac-12 definitely has a stake to claim as the best conference for the sport. The UCLA Bruins have won 11 titles in the men's game and have appeared in 18 Final Fours. The Arizona Wildcats, USC Trojans, and Utah Utes have also appeared in national championships, with Arizona winning in '97, and the Oregon Ducks have been one of the best teams in the nation since the 2010s began. There's even been a resurgence at UCLA over the last 3 seasons. What's the problem? The conference hasn't won a championship since the Arizona title in '97. The SEC, Big 12, ACC, and Big 10 have all won the title at least once since the century began. Oof, you know that's gotta hurt for the Pac-12 boosters. And again, the main problem people will point at is a lack of competitiveness. And though that's not really a problem when college basketball is concerned, as there have been many deep runs from Pac-12 teams over the years, even from teams no one would normally guess like Cal Berkeley, Oregon State, Washington, etc. I must remind you that without even a smattering of champs in recent memory, it makes the Pac-12 look lame, especially in comparison to the other members of the Power 5. Now the question on everyone's mind is, how does the Pac-12 compete with only 4 teams? How does the conference exist after losing 2/3 of its schools? And the true answer, the bottom line, I don't think anybody knows at this point. To be honest, this whole thing is giving greedy. And the worst part is that it hurts a lot of people. There are a lot of kids playing in the Pac-12, and if they're not part of those lucky 8 schools that are moving to a new conference, they're stuck in a limbo. Technically speaking, 4 schools could still form a collegiate conference, but let's be honest, to support that kind of structure, a lot of things would have to change. Programs could get cut, students could lose their scholarships, and trying to find schools willing to join the Pac-12 after a shift of this magnitude is a lot easier said than done. How can they trust that the conference will give them a fair due compared to the others? In addition, the Pac would have to extend offers to mediocre teams from Group of 5 conferences, and this would worsen the perception of the league and the competition within the league. It's a very touch and go situation. The commissioner and school directors need to be very careful about their next move, or this could be curtains for the Pac-12 as a whole. That's the video. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I hope y'all enjoyed it. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think the Pac-12 can recover from this? If so, what do you think their next move is going to be? If you don't think they can recover from this, what happens to the schools that are left? Y'all let me know in the comment section down below. If y'all would do me a huge favor, like the video if you like the video, share the video with your family and friends, turn on the notifications, and subscribe to the channel. Once again, it's been your boy, Slim Paco. I'll catch y'all in the next video. Later!